one. Welcome everyone to another episode. No.
Dang, the other one dropped.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Elbows Tight Podcast. It's your host Travis and Jon. Jon, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. It's a little bit of a different recording time for us today. It is 6 p.m. on Sunday. You guys will be hearing this on Monday at 3 a.m. if you're listening to it right when it drops. So I got to turn around and get this thing done right now. So, but other than that, how you doing, Jon?
I'm good, man. It's been a busy weekend. That's why we're kind of late today.
Yeah, I know. It's been like freaking crazy, man.
You know, last week was interesting. We were both sick, so we couldn't really train last week.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be interested to see what everyone thinks. Do you go train if you're congested and worried about getting everyone else sick, or, you know, what do you do?
Yeah, that's a good point, because both of us weren't like necessarily super sick, but we both had like kind of like sinuses were messing up, and I don't know, I just didn't feel like 100%. So I was like, I'm not going to train. And then it was progressively every day this week. It was like the same thing.
But you know, if this was a couple years ago, we'd have went and trained. Like, you'd have been like, oh, whatever, I'm sick, they'll get over it. But now you look at it a little different in the post-COVID era.
Now you're
right?
like the Rona has you just like completely like I don't think people definitely frown upon it even more now to not train when you're sick.
Yeah, you don't want to be
not
that
even
guy.
like,
you're like, hey man, I just want to let you guys know I'm positive for the Rona, and they're like, well, you trained with everyone? Yeah. I mean, I know I didn't feel good when I went to train, but I didn't. You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. You don't want to be the guy that you're like, oh man, I haven't felt good in like 2 weeks, but I think I'm at the tail end of it. Good thing I've been training the entire time to help push it out of my body.
Look, when we're doing warm ups and I see somebody sneeze, I'm not partnering with them the whole class. I'm like, nope, staying away. I don't even want to be in the same circle.
You're like sit there like, excuse me, did you just sniffle?
Yeah, if I see someone like coughing in their sleeve and shit, I'm like, get the hell out of here. I'm not trying to get sick right now.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm the same way, and that's why I was kind of like, I was talking to one of our friends, Chris, and I was like, man, I've been like kind of not feeling very good this week, so I don't think I'm going to train today. And he's like, you know, it used to be back in the day, as long as you weren't like dying from sickness,
right? You
could just, people would be like, oh, it's okay, yeah, go train. But now it's like, no, you have a 1 degree elevated temperature. You better not show up 6 miles in the radius of the gym. So
yeah, you just used to wrap that ringworm up or that staph infection and hit the mat.
I don't know about that one.
Right, Jack?
No,
like that bastard.
Yeah, no, that's like one of those things now is like, if I'm not feeling 100%, there's like, I just feel like there's not a good enough reason to go train if I feel like, one, I'm just not 100%, and then two, like if there's a risk of getting other people like sick. But the only caveat to that is I get pretty bad allergies during the summertime or whatever. So
you absolutely do.
So it's kind of like, well, if it's allergies, then I'll go. But I'll pick my partner only as Jon. That way. And then the whole time I'm like,
and I'll just start carrying masks in my bag and giving them to people if they look sick before we roll.
You know, they don't do anything. But
no, they don't.
But that's for another topic. So, but how's training been going besides this week, Jon?
Good. Been going 3 or 4 times a week. It feels good. I feel like kind of back to normal at this point.
How's your recovery been going?
Well, with all our good products, I feel like recovery's been going pretty good.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I felt lately, I think we did I did like 3 times last week, maybe 4 times. And I definitely felt the 4th class by the end of it. I was like, oh man, but yeah, I definitely feel like my recovery's been a little bit better lately. The babies haven't been sick. I've been getting more sleep. I feel like sleep is so underrated that people don't even realize how much it plays into your recovery, you know, and then also water consumption. Like those 2 things, we often get messages on Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that where people are like, oh man, how do you guys recover? What's the best way to recover? You know, and I tell them, like, look, it's pretty simple. Like, drink water and sleep are the bare minimum. And then other than that, you know, it's like a good protein or, you know, creatine monohydrate, like Kieran told us, and Chad Wesley Smith and, you know, all these nutrition guys. But it's like your sleep don't underrate the sleep. It's hard for me right now too because of the kids. But
I'm sure. And it's game changer for me. I don't know how many listeners we have that telework, but I'm kind of new to that gig. So I telework on Thursdays and Fridays. But I'm going to tell you right now, that extra sleep I get, you know, after training Wednesday and you can't sleep, and I'm like, dang, man, now I get to work at 6. I used to have to get up at 4 to be at work at 6. Them telework days, that alarm is set for 5:58. I'm like, what a game changer, man. If you could do that every day, like going to class, I'm not near as tired, and I don't stress about how much sleep am I going to get for the next day. It's nice.
Yeah, that'd be really nice. I could wake up every morning at around 3 to 3:30 in the a.m. to get to work by 5, and then I work typically 9-hour days, and that hurts. Sometimes that hurts really bad.
People are like, why do you get up so early? Look, work's only 12 miles away, but the way we have to park, logistically, walk in, that's what you got to do.
It's legit an hour to, well, for where I work at now, it's about just under 45 minutes to get to the office, but it's technically for me to get to the base, it's like a 10-15 minute drive to get to the base. But then I got to go even further, drive in the base. I got to walk. And, you know, I'm like, geez, it just adds up so quickly when you have
Think
to
of those
stop
people
everywhere.
that sleep in their cars. They get to work early enough to find a parking spot so they can sleep in their car.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, so, but, you know, I've been thinking about switching from 5 a.m. to go to the 6 a.m. and wake up a little bit earlier or wake up a little bit later in the morning.
Yeah.
And, you know, help out around the house in the morning and whatnot, and then work my hour of overtime in the afternoon. But then I'm like, oh, I'm going to get home so much later in the afternoon. Like relative, right? Like we're complaining about 3:30 in the afternoon being late for work. But,
well, I mean, here, you know, especially in the winter, it's dark by 4.
Yeah.
So, it's got an impact.
Yeah, I know. You get to work. Shoot, I get to work at 5 a.m. right now, and it's dark outside, and I leave work at 2:30, and it's freaking almost dark outside already.
You think that impacts going to class some days? You're just tired?
Absolutely, man.
Just not wanting to do it?
It's hard when, you know, in the summertime you're motivated because the days are so long, you have so much sunlight. But then in the wintertime, we have so little sunlight. It's hard to be motivated when we get off of work to sit around for, 2 hours. And then it's already dark outside by the time we leave. You know what I mean? So then it's like, holy crap, I got to freaking also go sit and, drive in this dark weather. I'm already getting kind of tired and this and that. So yeah, it definitely plays for me. What about you?
Well, I know some strategies I've used in the last couple of weeks is...
Oh, really? How's this?
I don't stay at the house. So I get home, and if I can't keep myself busy, that means like no sitting down at all. So if there's laundry to do or dishes, feed the dogs, whatever, I'll do that. And then I just leave and I go to the gym. Even if I have to wait around at the gym, I know I'm there, so I'm not going to leave.
Smart.
But if I sit at the house for that 2.5 hours, then it gets really difficult to find the motivation to go.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And it's hard to, like, I always bring up the kids. It's not like I'm using them as an excuse to not go to jiu-jitsu, but it is a difficult thing sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh man, I got to the kids are acting crazy right now and I got to leave and it's, wrapping up for bedtime and it's like, it just adds up.
They're so much fun to make, but man, are they a lot of work. Like, the best 15 seconds of your life to make them. And then you got years
you got 45 minutes of crying, but it's like, no, yeah. I can't wait for my kids to get into jiu-jitsu. I'm definitely going to get Kale. He's a little ham hock now to get him into jiu-jitsu when he can. He's 2 years old. He turns 3 in October. And so I think it's 3 or 4 is when.
Is that the first thing you're going to put him in? I'd do like gymnastics first.
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't want to put him in like football right away or something like that. But yeah, probably like.
Because gymnastics, they start, I think, younger than they can start at jiu-jitsu, and they'll start learning that body movement and things like that. Yeah,
they build that super strong body awareness through that. And I think gymnastics is such a cool thing too. I mean, we in our jiu-jitsu gym or our CrossFit gym, it used to be attached to a gymnastics school, and it was super cool seeing these kids like flip and doing bars and stuff like that. And I always had a big aspiration or a big what's the word I'm looking for? Admiration for the gymnasts and the kids that are in there, because a lot of them kids are just like crazy athletic for, 8, 9 years old. You're sitting there watching them thinking to yourself, holy crap, how are these kids doing it?
Yeah, it's like I remember watching that up on the second deck. You could really watch the whole class. And I remember the first time I really saw it, I was like, man, that's actually a pretty intense workout. Like those guys get beat up, guys and girls, kids. Like you could see it. They're bruised up. They're spraying. That was like the same thing when I started going to watch the kids that practice for cheer. Like they work out. They're doing a lot of stunting. And it reminded me a lot of that. I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, people understand like what gymnastics looks like and whatnot, but when you see it in person, it just puts it in such a completely different aspect of like in awe and athleticism. It's crazy to see these kids flipping and whatnot, and then, their flexibility and whatnot. It truly lends like Riley. We always talk about Riley. She, is a former gymnast. And so her flexibility is just crazy. And, it really helps with jiu-jitsu too. Sometimes Billy's really flexible too. I think it was Billy that said it one time on the subject of flexibility. He was talking about how I shouldn't listen to this back in the day, how he was like kind of hesitant on telling people not to use their strength during jiu-jitsu, because he said it's an unfair advantage for them to say don't use your strength when people can't turn off their flexibility or like what other natural gifts they have.
That's true.
Which I thought was really interesting, right? Because using your strength in jiu-jitsu helps to a certain point, right? It's not like it's a catch-all. You know what I mean? Like, we often hear, don't use strength, but strength is an aspect of jiu-jitsu. Flexibility is an aspect of jiu-jitsu, right? But I think the biggest problem, especially a lot of new practitioners have, is they don't know how to apply their strength in a calm and reserved fashion, right? They're just like gripping and ripping, you know what I mean? Like it's something to think about.
Not only that, but I mean, how long can you really use it? For a new person, maybe a couple rounds, and
not very
your
long.
forearms are going to be locked up. And you'll learn like it hurts more to hold the grip to just let it go.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, for sure.
And you think like if I hold this person to me, they're not going to be able to submit me, but really they're just sitting there waiting for you to die. So
I'll just hold my breath, man. Just going to hold my breath. Yeah.
So, but hey, recently we've had some pretty good interviews. What were our last 2 interviews? We had David, and then who was before David? Do you remember?
Yeah, way to put me on the spot. Like I'm remember names like that.
Was it Shane? It was Shane, right?
I think so.
Yeah, those are pretty good interviews. The only reason I say this is because we batch record. Like typically we'll have, we'll do a couple episodes together, and then, so it's the way the episodes come out isn't the way that they're recorded typically.
That's true.
But these are David's episode. Our most recent one was super fun. Just a little recap on that. Some of the highlights for me, though, was I just put that Instagram post out about how he compared an ayahuasca retreat to like a jiu-jitsu seminar. I thought that was really cool. And then his just love for wanting to help people is super cool to see in someone too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not only that, but I liked hearing someone that was in a profession medically that could relate to the injuries that we go through.
Oh, yeah.
And we talk about that a little bit in the podcast, that it's kind of it's very difficult, at least for me, when I'd go to the doctor and I'm trying to explain what's going on, and they're like, whatever, just stop doing jiu-jitsu. That's the problem. I'm like, that's not the problem. That's not what caused the injury.
You guys are literally just telling me something just to tell me it. You're not actually paying attention to what I have to say.
Yeah, and I remember when I first started going to a chiropractor, part of my Google searches, right, was trying to find one that was that dealt with sports injuries, because I wanted someone, and I found someone in Port Orchard that dealt with like wrestling, things of that nature, and they used to do it. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna go there because he'll understand some of the problems I'm having. And I ended up going with Johnny's recommendation from his wrestling partner in high school, who has a chiropractic clinic. He knew right what was going on when I'd go in there.
Today's episode of Elbows Tight Podcast is brought to you by the Amino Co. John, go ahead and tell the listeners at home a little bit about Amino Co.
So I'm using Heal. It's to help with recovery. It's 100% science-backed. What I like about it is it triggers lean muscle growth and repair 4 times more efficiently than any other protein source. It reduces muscle atrophy and improves physical function after surgery. It helps maintain a healthy inflammatory response by acting mTOR. I highly recommend everyone go to AminoCo, look it up online, check out the science-backed details. It's all there. So far, I really like it. It tastes great. It mixes easy, and I'm looking forward to using it for a couple months.
If you guys want to check out Heal and check out the science, go to aminoco.com/elbowstight. Once again, that is aminoco.com/elbowstight, and use code elbowstight at checkout for 30% off. Every new purchase does get a free gift as well. Thank you, AminoCo, for sponsoring this episode.
Do you feel, this is kind of maybe a touchy subject to some, but I feel that chiropractic is kind of psychosomatic. Like, I think we get the initial relief of a readjustment, air quotes, but then afterwards, typically we don't do the things that we need to in order to keep that alignment in check. You know what I mean? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like it actually made a difference with you, or do you feel like you just did it and mentally it made you feel better?
I think you'd have to go off your experience. So I went to a chiropractor. My back was given out all the time. This was back early 2000s. I'd go to brush my teeth, and when I'd lean over the sink, my back would give out. So my back was just giving out all the time, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I went and saw a chiropractor. What I didn't like about that initial visit is they're like trying to set me up for 50,000 appointments. You had to get all these appointments set, and that's not what I wanted. But he did his adjustments, and my back felt good. Like, I was actually kind of lightheaded when I left. Then I went on vacation for 3 weeks. Immediately after that, did not go back to work. I was on vacation for 3 weeks. Went back to work one day, my back started giving out.
Wow.
Come to find out, it was my chair in the office.
Oh.
So whatever he did fix the problem. Then when I went back to work and I started using the chair again, my back started giving out. So that was one thing. When we started jiu-jitsu, I was having a lot of rib problems. Remember when we first started, we had like that big guy that had the stripe when none of us knew nothing.
Oh, Jesus, that guy was huge.
My ribs were destroyed, and the only thing I think of was going to see a chiropractor again. So like I just told you guys, I did that surge, had a recommendation, went in. And the first thing I told him was, look, I don't want 50 million appointments. This is the pain I have. I don't want, I just want you to look at it. Let's fix it. I don't want, and he told me, he's like, look, we'll fix it. If you want to come back. We won't set up a bunch of appointments. I went in, he did some adjustments on my ribs. And when I say it felt like somebody took a knife and shoved it between the back of my shoulder blades, that's what it felt like before I'd go in there.
Wow.
So he'd work on it. And I went, I think twice a week. It was always the day after a class because my ribs hurt so much. And after about 4 weeks of him just adjusting them, I didn't have the rib problem anymore. And, I take my daughter there now with her gymnastics. She has a lot of neck problems. She likes going. If the agreement I have with him, if I feel like I need an adjustment, I just call him up, set up an appointment, and I go in. He does an adjustment, and that's it. So at this point, he might see me once every 6-7 weeks. He doesn't feel like he's just trying to take money from me.
No, that's interesting. I haven't gone to a chiro since, man, I don't even know, before we moved into this area, and it was interesting going there. I did feel relief. I'm not saying that he didn't do anything, but I did feel relief when he was readjusting me. But I don't know. It was just one of those things where I was like, is this like such a temporary thing that it kind of gets you addicted to that feeling of relief to where now you need to go back and back and back. You know what I mean? Instead of I feel like, to better explain it, I feel like it's kind of it's not adjusting the root cause of what your pain is. It's kind of helping you relieve the symptoms, whatever the pain is.
So are you saying, or am I thinking it's like a placebo effect?
Yeah.
So this would be my answer to that. If anyone feels relief or you feel better, placebo or not, it worked.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It's just weird to me because it's not like they're cheap. You know what I mean? And if you talk to like a PT, we should have brought this up to. Oh, that was a good man. Maybe I'll talk to David on Instagram. Mm-hmm. But a lot of PTs don't like chiropractics because one, they stroke people out more than PTs do. If you don't know this, PTs can actually do adjustments on you as well. And if you don't know what stroke out means, it means when they adjust your neck, they kill you.
Yeah, and I actually brought that up like the first time I'd went in there because I've read the same stuff, and I was like, "Hey man, like take it easy on the neck." That
Yeah,
shit
I ain't
freaks
trying to
me out.
die.
Yeah,
We were
absolutely.
watching videos. Quick side ramble. We were watching videos of this dog chiropractic guy, and
His name Caesar. No,
oh my god. But it was crazy because he would like crack the dogs' necks, and he would like slowly let them go, and the dogs would like turn and look at him like, "What did you just do?"
yeah. What the hell is going
That's
on
how I
around
felt.
here?
No, and like I have knee problems from the military, and when he adjusted my knees, like I'm not gonna lie, it did feel better, but I just don't think Cairo was what I needed for my knees because it's more of a tendon thing. And he tried to do the best he could to help with the inflammation
Right.
of my tendon and whatnot, but it just wasn't his specialty. So I don't know. Maybe if I had a different issue, maybe I should go back now because I'm starting to have a little bit more back issues again.
Yeah, if
And
if you have the same insurance as me, it's $6 a visit. I mean, that's not
$6?
Yeah, I pay $6. Like,
oh my god,
no problem. I'll keep going. Like,
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, here's my bottle of water. No problems with it.
Here goes my 2 energy drinks later.
Yep.
So, but yeah, no, that's like one of those things. If you guys go to Kairos at home, how do you guys feel about it? Do you feel like it actually helps out, or do you feel like it's it's black magic? It's not really. It doesn't really do anything. My microphone's like falling all over the place, probably because I keep readjusting it. But it's just it's just one of those things too. Like some people sign up for physical therapists for jiu-jitsu, and they sign up for a massage therapist and whatnot. And I don't know, I'm not a big fan of massage therapist either, typically because it hurts.
Oh, you're talking about the sports massage.
Yeah, like they
Deep
get in there with
tissue.
their elbows, and you're like,
Yeah. You see, John had something called like scalping done a few weeks ago.
oh my gosh, dude.
He showed me like he was all bruised up from them scraping it on him, and I was like,
Yeah,
that
I don't know
sounds
how
horrible.
people do that. It's like cupping. People, they get the suction cups on
Mm-hmm.
them. Oh my god! If you have, I'm asking a lot of questions to the audience today. Please DM us if you've had scalping, or is it scalping or scraping?
I'm not sure.
Scraping or scalping or whatever from the PT, and if you've had suction cups done, because I've had friends that had suction cups done, and they swear by it, right? But I don't know, it just doesn't look very
Is that the one where they like?
fun to me.
Is there smoke involved or anything? Do they like light
Some
it?
some of them is like a hand pump. They'll hand pump a cup on you, and then some of them, what they'll do is they'll put a fire
Yeah, that's what I
inside
was
of it and then
thinking of.
suction cup it to you. Both of them are just interesting things. It's supposed to help bring blood
up.
to the surface and rejuvenate and whatnot. I don't know if it actually does anything, but it's crazy to see people in the UFC with like gigantic circular bruises all over their body.
Yeah, I mean it looks wicked, but if it works, it works.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, right. So, what are your plans coming up for training, John? You got any ideas of things that you want to do now that you're kind of getting back into the swing of things? I bought you that Marcelo Garcia butterfly.
I've been using it. You talking about the one on BJJ Fanatics?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used your login. I used it the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yep. Then I stumbled across that old man one by Tom DeBlas.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want to get that. And I was like, but
yeah. I tagged you in it on Instagram, and you should definitely check it out. Tom DeBlas is super cool. He's
yeah, I watched the free little demos they had of it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get that. I was actually some of it I got like probably a good 15 minutes of content for free, and that I went and tried to use right away in the gym. Obviously, I need to watch it again because I was just getting smashed and I was trying to get in there. But I like it a lot.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're now seeking out more information for, like an older practitioner, or are you still looking for information to just better your jiu-jitsu game?
Definitely for older, but normally what I'm really looking for is energy management, where I don't have to like fight so much. And when I say fight so much, everybody's probably thinking the same thing. But for the people that are older, you probably know what I mean when you're 45 going up against some 19-year-old. Their energy output is just way more than I have currently in the tank. So what I'm looking for is something where I can get submissions while I'm in while I've got them in some type of guard or sneaky submissions. I like those a lot. Basically, that's why I've really been looking at toe holds a lot, right? Because I can always get a wrist and I can always get a toe. So I'm like, because if I'm folded up, generally I may end up folded up with these behemoths with all this energy on top of me, and I can only grab a foot or a hand.
Yeah.
That's why I look at that.
Something where they just make a split-second mistake, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and grab the crap out of this and
Yeah.
hopefully get something out of it. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's mainly what I'm looking at, that kind of stuff. I'm not looking at anything where you got to be like super flexible. That I'm not.
You don't want to do no buggy chokes?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I've been looking at ways to tighten up the triangle, by using your arm and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just things like that where I can be a little bit more efficient while not being as flexible.
What did I get you in the other day where was it a triangle and you instantly were like going for that triangle defense?
Yeah. I watched Malachi, one of his videos, and it was like triangle defense. And I was like, man, I forgot all about that. And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of his lately. He's been really big on my Facebook feed right now.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff.
Man, he just posted one today. I don't know if you saw it. Malachi Friedman, if you guys don't follow him, he's like the mad scientist. He invented like Heisenberg, and his stuff is just great. He's also was like episode like 30 of our podcast too. But today he posted 3 no-nos of the gym, and the first one was not wear no bare feet in the bathroom, which I thought was typical. But then 2 was no steroids in the
bathroom,
in the academy or the bathroom, and then number 3 was don't leave your stinky geese in the bathroom. Or in the lockers, and I commented on his post. I'm like, man, you mean to tell me I can't acai and Jesus in your locker room?
I like his instructionals. I like the way
yeah.
I like the way he talks through positions. So it's
Yeah.
an easier way for me to learn it. I don't like when someone's, I don't want to say too much attention to detail, but I just like the broader overview. He shows it. He moves into the positions. He's a lot of if it works, it works, and I like that.
Yeah, Keenan Cornelius lately has been posting on social media like things to make your academy and teaching better. Sorry, I'm getting like a dry throat right now. And one of the things he talks about is like over-explaining or just talking too much as an instructor. And I haven't really ran into this with any of our instructors. I feel like we typically have pretty good people that aren't going to sit there and want to hear themselves talk for too long. But I definitely have heard some horror stories of people where, there's like one technique takes like 15 minutes to explain.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing about anything online, the instructionals, is they don't need to over-explain it. We can pause. We can hit rewind. You can slow it down. So I like that.
Yeah. Like when we used to watch Roy Dean, and we would just like sit there, pause, rewind, sit there, pause, rewind, and then freaking be able to try to break it down as much as possible.
Yeah, and I really like the ability to download to the phone. That helps out a lot, especially at our gym where they have horrible service.
Yeah, right. I don't know, man. I feel like I kind of like stepped away from being a complete student like we used to be, in the aspect of I'm not really seeking information really at all anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what I am seeking is refreshers. I've seen it before, but I've been off the mats for quite some time, so I need these refreshers. And then, like I've mentioned it before in a couple of previous episodes, it's easier for me now when I go to class because the information's already in my head.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just need that little refresher, and then when I see it, then it's all coming back to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Whenever we like revisit a technique in class, I'm like, man, there's so many details that I completely freaking forgot about. Like closing a triangle up, or getting in deep half, or going for like a scissor sweep, or just like not necessarily saying I remember all that stuff, but there's like all these little minute details in everything that we do in jiu-jitsu. It's just crazy to think about. Like we could do a technique 10,000 times, and I could still forget how to do one little aspect of it.
Yeah. So I really like refreshing. I know a lot of people can write down, and they like write it down in journals and stuff. I've tried that, but I've always found that if I'm writing it down, I'm not really paying attention, and I have a harder time remembering whatever was taught. So I'd rather just pay attention the entire time. It's just easier for me than just refresh later.
All right, John. Well, so what are you looking forward to the most coming up? Anything specific that you want to tell people at home about?
Oh, I can't think of anything specific, honestly. I think I'm toying with the idea, maybe, possibly, that if you compete in November, I would compete one more time in November. But that's only if you're going to do it. If you're not doing it, then I'm out.
What?
Yeah,
What idea? Where did this come from?
You asked me if there's anything out. You threw it out there, so I was like, maybe just
November.
once.
That's kind of far out there.
Exactly.
Why so long?
Because that gives you a lot of time to mentally prepare.
Yeah, that's what, 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been toying with the idea a lot more lately. I follow this one guy on Instagram, and he talks about how for your first competition you shouldn't cut weight. Just do whatever weight class you naturally walk around at. You know, don't even concern yourself with it. Just get the jitters out of the way and just do it to the best of your ability at your like natural weight. And so I was thinking like, man, that's a great idea. Like, but I'm afraid the guys I'm gonna roll against are gonna be big muscular dudes that just absolutely destroy me. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, like I said, that's many months away. You know, I might get close to that and then feel like I can't do it. I don't know, but I'm just toying with it.
Yeah. Understand. And we got a lot of good interviews coming up for the podcast lately. I just want to let you guys know we are booked until mid-March. John and I only record Sundays, but we're booked every weekend until mid-March. So, and we have a lot of good people to talk to coming up too. I'm super excited for you guys to hear these upcoming episodes too. So
let us know if you have any questions, anything that you've been letting simmer that you wish we'd ask.
Yeah, I'll probably post a couple Instagram stories like leading up to each person to gauge if you guys have any questions for them. Our guests aren't typically, we have a couple guests that are like they're jiu-jitsu practitioners, but we're not necessarily bringing them on for their jiu-jitsu knowledge, if that makes sense. Like we have a psychiatrist coming up. We have like a sports anatomy guy. We have like a mental health guy. And, you know, they're jiu-jitsu practitioners, but we're looking to gain something else out of our interview with them that isn't necessarily pure jiu-jitsu talk. You know what I mean? So trying to give you guys the most value possible out of each person that doesn't just involve like, hey, what are your finishing mechanics of an arm bar?
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So really trying to make every episode as valuable as possible to you guys. So, John, you got anything else?
I don't.
Thank you guys so much for listening and watching at home. Remember, follow us, Elbows Tight, everywhere. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And I don't got anything else. Remember, no oil checks here.
Goose.
All right, guys. Peace.